drum. I know, they know,
you know it.
got dope,
They got dope.
got coke,
I got that coke.
got smoke,
I got that big.
got hoes. Oh, I know, they know,
They know.
I got dope.
I got that hard.
Yo, out here tonight with a live event, Symposia. Basically just chilling out, hanging out with a couple of artists, poets, musicians, sharing some stories of how they've basically got inspiration from using psychedelics and how it's helped them with their work. So once again, we're back out here live on the beat. CHIEFLOUD Radio, Brasco Green, Crooked Streetz. Check it out.
But the important thing is what you're doing. Once you reach enlightenment, once you have that amazing psychedelic experience, what are you going to do after that? I think that's the most important thing. There was a Beatles quote off Magical Mystery Tour, the song "Baby You're a Rich Man." You guys know that song? Lennon says, "Now that you've found another key, meaning music key, what are you going to play?" And yeah, thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Brasco Green, CHIEFLOUD Radio, Crooked Streetz, out here at Symposia, doing some, just hanging out with some of our friends, doing what we do best, live on the beat. Got my man Harrison standing here with us this evening. He's an artist, actually sharing a story, and we just want to kind of talk to him, let him share a little bit about his artwork, and also talk about why he's advocating. What is he advocating by sharing his story this evening?
I've been an artist for a few years, and what I'm advocating this evening and any evening with my arts is to do a thing, to take charge of yourself and to move yourself around like these compositions, move yourself around like the paint on canvas. Nothing has to be a blank canvas. Nothing has to stay the way that it is. You can paint over yourself and anything else going on whenever you want.
All right. So share a little bit of the artwork. I saw you had a painting here and this painting here. Talk a little bit about both, if you don't mind.
This one is one that I was working on for tonight. It's just kind of a quickie piece. The Tibetan trophy skull mixed with a Day of the Dead skull. And this one is from the Serenity Prayer. This one is To Courage, Change the Things I Can, part 3 in a series of 4, essentially rendering self as a composition.
There you have it, right here, Symposia. Art stories, telling the art side of how is an inspiration using psychedelics. Right here, CHIEFLOUD Radio, Crooked Streetz. Check us out.
Sun kinda set it off while my mind's on mischief, like a child waking up to the smell of the piff again. Walking in on the moms and a new significant. I'm on my shit again. I live with this pen and sit and listen to bright men with vision, but mine somewhere where no man can see, like a prophecy. And in the ring I got the eyes of a boxer, please. I'm a man and I got knees too, and my honesty bleed through. Ready to bust, giving up so my mind think fast. The bust, giving up so my mind. Ready to bust, giving up so my mind think fast. The bust, giving up so my mind think fast. Ready to bust, giving up so my mind. Ready to bust, giving up so my mind. Ready to bust.
Well, I saw Rothko, but I really like Mark Rothko. I don't kind of know it. A lot of people do. But I saw one of his pieces at the VMA, I remember, and I never really had an experience like that before with art. And it was just a painting that wasn't just a painting. It felt like there was a light, like a literal light coming from the painting. When I witnessed it, and I've never felt anything like that before. So that really just kind of piqued my interest in how do you get to this, how did this human create this incredible feeling through just paint.
Brasco Green, CHIEFLOUD Radio, Crooked Streetz, standing here with my man, Tim. Welcome to the Psychedelic. This is Symposia, where artists, musicians, poets were sharing their stories this evening, being inspired by psychedelic and their artwork. So, Tim, kind of just elaborate on the reasons why you're advocating this evening using psychedelics with art.
Well, I'm advocating it because it's something that is just, I feel like, is really truly who I am, and I feel like a lot of people that have profound or meaningful experiences on psychedelics that have an interest in art or feel they are an artist, I feel like that there's a connection that the psychedelic experience it can make the artist grow, and it can also, there's good and bad to everything, obviously, but in terms of psychedelics and art, I think that it's I don't think that it's necessary. But that if a person has an experience through a powerful psychedelic experience that causes them to create art, and that feeling, that is a great thing. I don't know. It's hard for me. I'm kind of like jumbled up right now. So
I got you. Yeah. No worries. No, you shared a story this evening. Shared your thoughts. Why don't you just share a couple of pieces that you have there with us?
I got this sketchbook actually recently, within like about 3 weeks ago, and so all this stuff in here is very, very recent. Basically, started slowly experimenting with watercolor, but just layering and relationship to line and color, but I guess what I progressed to do is to try to create a space of where I feel good, or where I feel like I'm satisfied with what I'm looking at, and it feels like it came from me, and where I'm satisfied, because like it sounds very selfish, I guess, in ways, but if you're not gonna make yourself happy, I feel like you can't really make anybody else happy. So
right.
The most current one, excuse me, is
okay.
Not that one, but this one I did earlier today. So this is technically the most current one. But
gotcha.
Basically, yeah.
Cool stuff, man.
You
Appreciate you taking the time out, Tim. Symposia, sharing the stories of psychedelic. Thanks for having us out.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Here's my story. At the age of 10 is when I first sprayed the gym, made within, battle for change.
Psychedelics, it didn't make the anxiety go away at all. I didn't expect it to, but what it did do is it made me realize that I'm not a person who has anxiety, but I am the anxiety experiencing a person. So, what does this anxiety have to do with art? It's pretty much like any vibration. Each vibration has like a specific frequency, and our body has the same thing. The brain waves, the heart, and everything. The first time I used psychedelics, I tried to draw, and this feeling of anxiety was so intense when that happened. My whole body was shaking. It was just like a leaf, just vibrating, everything. My hand was so shaky that I couldn't draw anything. I couldn't draw any straight lines. It was just, it still shakes to this day all the time. I have a really shaky hand. And it was discouraging. And also the anxiety was playing tricks on me. It was making me think I had to do this or that, or I was wasting my time or something like that, and it wasn't looking good. And
So I sort of gave up, which was a good thing, because at that point I had no more attachment to outcome. It didn't matter what the lines looked like. I just didn't care anymore. I was holding a pen, I held the pen, and I just held it to paper, and it just started shaking and vibrating all over the page. It was...
Because you had the wrong dream.
Brasco Green, CHIEFLOUD Radio, right here, Crooked Streets with Symposia. Standing out here on the beat once again. We're out at a live event with Symposia, and tonight, artists, musicians, poets are sharing stories that are inspired by psychedelics. So we have standing here Will, who's a storyteller this evening. So we just want to kind of ask the question, what are you advocating by sharing your story this evening?
Well, I know that a lot of people, well, I mean everybody, as I was talking about earlier, has that anxiety in the seat of their stomach. It usually makes us think that we sort of have to do things that make us unhappy in order to make that anxiety go away. And I just want to sort of illustrate a way to keep that anxiety there, associate it into your life, and use it to make yourself happy and to create things.
Wow, that's deep. So now you have some pretty interesting artwork here. So kind of just share with us these two pieces that you're showing us.
So with my technique, I sort of just let my hands shake and move around the page. And so what I did with this one here in particular is I just let it shake while holding the image of a skull in my head. And so for the first few layers it didn't look like one. I used a really light pen. You can see the sepia in here. But eventually it did. And then I just outlined it as if it was all intentional, added some highlights, and you could just see the skull come forth through the chaos patterns.
Yeah, I can kind of see where, you have a teeth here a little bit. I can see the image as it unfolds, and it's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
So you're just letting your hand just kind of like go do its own thing.
Yeah.
Like its own mind.
Yeah, I'm sort of exploring the patterns that your hand makes when it just shakes and you hold a pen in it. And I've been sort of evolving that by realizing it's not so much a shake as it is a spiral. So your hand or all your movements sort of move in this Fibonacci spiral shape. And as long as each stroke is in that shape, the sum, the whole image will take that shape as well. Like a fractal. What you draw microscopically will form the macroscopic image. When you zoom out.
There you have it from Will, one of our storytellers this evening at Symposia. Thanks for having us out, CHIEFLOUD Radio. Brasco Green, back to you, Crooked Streets Radio.
It's a lot of blood bugs, a lot of organic forms that form in nature, and usually specifically when I'm using cannabis, I feel that I can let that manifest itself through me, and it kind of gets me higher to my, closer to my higher self. So when I'm actually using cannabis, I feel that the connection to nature is there, but also it makes me more aware of the patterns that I see visually.
Brasco Green, CHIEFLOUD Radio, Crooked Streets. Standing here this evening with my man Damien at Symposia, who's basically been a storyteller this evening, sharing his thoughts behind psychedelics. Now, I understand that you're an artist, correct? Now, your particular psychedelic that you use favorably is more so cannabis, okay? So kind of talk a little bit about how that actually inspires you in terms of your work and what you see when you're visualizing, I guess, the attack.
So for me, it's more of letting the cannabis manifest itself through me. So letting the nature manifest itself through me, and then once it can manifest itself through me, I can put it on the page. I can kind of work with it, and that's how I kind of connect through nature. So it's me, it's nature, it's the artwork, all coming into one, and that's kind of how I use cannabis in a spiritual art kind of practice type way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of tell our viewers, why are you advocating psychedelics and just in the usage of artwork?
I think that every day, people have different avenues of learning, different techniques of creating, or different techniques of thinking about different things, or even learning how to see things differently. And psychedelics can definitely help open that up. Certain, like a lot of people have been saying tonight, different doorways can be opened up. It's really just up to you what you do once you open that doorway up.
Okay. So why don't you share a piece of show us some of your artwork? Has some pretty fly stuff. I heard what you were saying. Taking the patterns, taking something that was small, leading up to the bigger picture.
You kind of see that in my work.
Okay.
You kind of see the patterns that build up, but when you look at it, it's actually an ant head, a big ant head that I did.
Okay.
And,
this is an ant head. Okay.
So it's easy to build up the entire image when you kind of just build up smaller patterns, and I feel like that's something that a lot of psychedelic artists do is build from the microcosm to the macrocosm to create a bigger image, and you can also use that to connect to your higher self and see the bigger image within yourself if you're looking for it,
Thanks.
Yeah,
well, we appreciate that. Very nice shirt, cool shirt. Anything you want to share with the audience, how they can maybe possibly check out your shirts or more of your work?
You can check out my work at cargocollective.com/Damian Worthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you have it. CHIEFLOUD Radio, Crooked Streetz, back on the beat, out here again, Brasco Green, and we out. All right, appreciate it.
Because often in those periods of time, I was not able to maintain a job per se, that kind of thing. So, and in those years, I traveled a lot and experimented with many different art forms and collaborated with many different musicians, and I'm very grateful for the experiences that psychedelics brought me. An interesting thing with my very first trip, I had an experience that that's influenced my lyrics and the art, the album artwork, and everything since. An experience of seeing the shapes of sound, and the sounds of colors, the colors of taste and smell. That's described as synesthesia, and something I'd had a glimpse of before, but it was very sort of concrete in that first trip.
Brasco Green here once again, right here at Symposia, back on the beat as we always do. Crooked Streetz Radio. I'm standing here with Jason, a lead singer, musician with Telesma. Actually here this evening with Symposia as a storyteller, kind of sharing his thoughts and just sharing with the audience on psychedelics. And I guess the main question we want to kind of ask this evening, we've been asking all musicians or artists, is why are you advocating and sharing your story this evening with psychedelics?
Well, because I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned through psychedelics, and though I don't recommend them for everyone, I think many people can benefit. And I think so many of us see divisions between genres and styles and people and all of those things, but I think psychedelics break down those barriers and boundaries. So I think that's the main reason why I shared my story, is to encourage other people to break down those boundaries and barriers themselves.
So now talk a little bit about the barriers that have been broken down for you, and how it's kind of brought you to the light of your music and where it's going in that direction.
Well, like example for myself, I'm coming from kind of a blues-based background, and through the use of psychedelics, I kind of disregarded the concept of genre or style. So the music I make now is composed of hundreds of styles of music and things that aren't even music. Like the inspirations don't have to be divided or come specifically from one style or one place. So I think it's, that's my...
There you have it. Why don't you share with our listeners where they can find more of your music, hear more, interviews and topics that you may share with your audience?
Well, the most widely used medium would probably be iTunes, Telesma, TELESMA at iTunes. We have our own website, telesmamusic.com as well. So hundreds of videos on YouTube. And
it'd be a good way for our listeners to check you out and see how it's been an inspiration for you. And we definitely appreciate you taking the time out to talk with us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks.
There you have it, Jason. CHIEFLOUD Radio, Crooked Streets. And we out here with Symposium. And we out.